All right, Eagles ended up beating the Dallas Cowboys in week one, and I'm just gonna recap some of the game, give my some of my thoughts, especially the first like 5 seconds of this game were just so frustrating. I don't think I could have seen a worse start defensively. Um, open up beginning of the on the kickoff, Ben Van Sumeren. Ends up tearing his patella. He's out for the year. Ben was going to be our fullback. Maybe play some linebacker here and there, but he would have been our fullback this year. Now we don't have a fullback, so that's great. I assume, I mean, during the game, Kylan Granson was playing fullback a lot, the third string tight end. So I assume we're going to see a little bit more of that going into the rest of the year. But it sucks. I was really looking forward to seeing Ben this year. It sucks. And then there was a penalty right after that. A penalty that everybody now has seen. Um, so well, let's go through the whole ordeal. Um, so Cowboys are in their huddle, and Jalen Carter gets really close to their huddle. He starts walking towards them, which I don't know how a ref doesn't. Now I'm not going to defend anything Jalen Carter does here. I think what he does is stupid, um, disrespectful, and should not ever be replicated whatsoever. But for some reason, the ref is just letting him go walk up to the Cowboys huddle. I've never seen that before. Um, that shouldn't be allowed, especially when they're in the huddle. And Jalen's walking towards their huddle, and Dak, as anyone who's played sports, you might spit in random places. Dak spits in the direction of Jalen Carter on the ground. Um, Dak gives a weird smile. It was odd, like almost like he was antagonizing Jalen a little, but I digress. And Jalen and Dak have some words, and Jalen spits on Dak Prescott and gets ejected. What are you thinking, bro? Like, how stupid could you be? I don't know what the Eagles' defense actually looks like because Jalen Carter, I mean, literally in the video before this, I was talking about Jalen Carter is the best player on the defense. I don't know what the defense looks like because the whole defensive scheme in the front seven had to change. Um, I will go with what I saw in this game, which was not great. Um, but man, Jalen, you gotta get your head together, man. You can't be doing that. I know Jalen Hurts talked to him, but wow, I would have. I don't think I expected that at all. Um, so after that, Cowboys just walk down the field and Javonte Williams runs in a 1 yard touchdown for the Cowboys. It was just touchdown. It was points after points after points from both the offense, both the Eagles and Cowboys offense to start this game, up until the rain delay. Um, so Adoree Jackson can't cover anybody. He couldn't. I mean, every single preseason game, Adoree couldn't cover guys who ended up getting cut, and he's going and he's our outside starting corner. He's gonna be our starting corner for week two. I don't understand that. I I mean I said in the video last week. I was like Adoree Jackson is the biggest shock for me that made this roster. I don't understand how he made the roster. Never mind becoming a starting outside corner. I am dumbfounded at that decision right there. So he couldn't cover anybody. He couldn't cover CeeDee Lamb. Couldn't cover George Pickens. Couldn't cover Cavante Turpin. He couldn't cover anybody that the Cowboys threw at wide receiver. And it ended up being a large chunk of the issues in this game. But when Jacorian Bennett came out here, he was definitely playing a lot better than Adoree Jackson. I mean, Adoree basically got benched in the second half when Jacorian Bennett, but then the delay happened, and then Adoree came back in, and it was so frustrating. But offensively, I mean, the offense started this game off before the delay about as great as I could have asked for. Jalen in this game overall, I have not seen him this poised and this comfortable in an offense since 2022. Um, and I'm not saying he's better than he was last year, even during the playoff run. I'm not saying at some points that I mean, at some points he was very good in 2023 to start that season, but he has not been comfortable the last 2 years. He looked very comfortable. Um, I mean, he ended up running in 2 touchdowns in this game. I mean, he didn't throw an incompletion until he ended up having to throw a ball away. So. I mean, he had what, like an 80% completion percentage, an incredible game passing. Um, and people were saying like, oh, dink and dunks. Look, if you're worried about the stats, then there's a reason the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So yeah, Jalen had a great game. It was a beautiful first drive for the Eagles offense. I mean, running Saquon, as even though he didn't get that many touches, even though he didn't have this like fantastic game like from last year. He still had a really good game. The Cowboys defense was playing very well. Um, about as good as I thought they would. Issue is they really couldn't get that much pressure outside. And I think even if Micah Parsons was on this team, I don't think the outcome is going to change that much. Um, like losing Jalen Carter was a little different. Like I think the Cowboys had good pressure. The issue is they had nobody to spy Jalen Hurts. And they had no idea how to defend the underneath routes. And then when they did, Jalen goes and throws a dime to Jahan Dotson. So, um, Jordan Davis immediately in this game had to be the most important defensive lineman, um, interior defensive lineman. And he shouldn't have been taken off the field. He was at times, and it was really frustrating. Um, this was an indicator of a game that was like, hey, Jordan Davis, you want that contract? This is the game to decide that. So I wouldn't say he played bad. I wouldn't say he played great. He was okay. Um, is he worth a first round pick right now? I don't know. So, which side note about the Micah Parsons trade? The Eagles did offer a deal, which included a first round pick, a third round pick, a fifth round pick, and more. Oh, two first round picks. Sorry. Two first round picks, a third, a fifth, and more. What that more was, I'm assuming that was Jordan Davis because the Cowboys needed an interior defensive lineman. That's why they got Kenny Clark. And Jalen Carter would have not been involved in this trade. I don't think the Eagles are going to trade straight up Jalen Carter for Micah Parsons because the Eagles would like to get better at edge rusher, but losing Jalen Carter would fundamentally change the entire front seven because of his his position. And I mean, this is a prime example. This game was a prime example of that. I think if Micah Parsons is on this team, I still think the Eagles have the same issues on the defensive side. I don't think Micah Parsons would have made this better. So yeah, but the reason the Cowboys didn't do it is because they're in the same division, so they would have never done it. And yeah, if it came down to it, the Eagles would have parted ways with Jordan Davis or Moro Ojomo. But I think they were comfortable with the depth at defensive tackle that they were okay getting rid of Jordan Davis. By the way, if I sound nasally, I'm sick. That's why this video is going to be pretty quick and quicker than normal videos. So I'm gonna fly through this. Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell seemed to be traveling mostly with George Pickens. Um, at times he was playing pretty bad. This was not a great game out of Quinyon Mitchell, but I think he did enough. I think he did enough. Um, it was an awful defensive start, and it reminded me of the Packers game from last year. And like I've said, every single year, Vic Fangio's defense struggles to start the year, but then they find the rhythm as the season goes along. So, Jalen runs in another touchdown. Javonte Williams runs in another touchdown. Adoree Jackson still can't cover anybody. Um, it was a crazy. Nolan Smith got a tackle for loss and was flexing and got a taunting penalty. I saw worse throughout the entire weekend's games. Um, I mean, I saw Jalen Ramsey running like 70 yards doing this, and yelling and stuff. And I saw worse this weekend from every single game, I think. So it was a little frustrating. They need to either let everybody do the taunt, let everybody do whatever they want, like in 2017 because they were really relaxed that year and then they were like no, we don't want to do that, so they went to 2018 and since then they've been like you can't do that. Grown men do whatever you want. um so and or just don't allow anything. You shouldn't allow what Jalen Ramsey did. You shouldn't allow anything whatsoever. No pointing, no nothing. um Next play, Jordan Davis wrapped up Dak Prescott, and Dak evaded it and got a short yardage gain. Jordan Davis has got to wrap. He's got to bring him down, man. Um, Brandon Aubrey, every time he kicks a field goal, he makes it. It was a 41-yard field goal. Then Hurts had a wonderful throw, 51-yarder to Jahan Dotson. It was incredible. I haven't seen that since, I don't know, maybe the dagger. Um, Yeah, it was an awesome throw. It was great to see Jahan Dotson. If that's all we get out of Jahan Dotson every single game, I'm okay with that. I'm great with that. Um, you want to see in future games AJ Brown get more involved. That was probably the only issue I had, and ultimately became what led the offense being stale after the weather delay. Um, Saquon ran in a 10-yard touchdown. He just could not be denied on that run. Brandon Aubrey kicked a 54-yarder. Eagles led 21-20 at halftime. Um, Jake Elliott in the third quarter, man, I I was like, this is gonna be like a 60-yarder. It was a 58-yard field goal, and I'm like, I'm letting Jake do this. I want Jake Elliott to try this field goal, and I had all the faith in the world in him, and he did not disappoint me. He kicked a 58-yard field goal. Um, Sidney Brown, so Jahad Campbell made a fantastic play in coverage, was incredible. Jahad Campbell had a great game. Very underrated game. I think it's gonna be a game that might get overshadowed by some of his other performances, but it was a great debut for Jahad Campbell. I think both Bond and Campbell played fantastic. This was one of the best linebacker games I've seen from an Eagles duo in a very long time. Um, he goes back in the coverage and puts his hands up to so he doesn't get the pass interference and ball bounces right off of him. And on that same play, Sidney Brown came in and laid a hit on the receiver and he got shaken up. Sidney Brown might hit too hard for his own good. Um, he can really hit anybody, but sometimes he hits so hard that ends up hurting himself. So he ended up getting hurt on that play. Um, but he ended up coming back in. Miles Sanders ended up having a 49-yard run. I thought he was going to score a touchdown, but Zach Bond came up from behind and prevented the touchdown. And then on third down and long, uh, almost at the almost third and goal. It was third and long. I think they needed to get to the 1 yard line for a first down. Reed Blankenship commits pass interference after or unnecessary roughness trying to hit a receiver, and I mean he could have just knocked the ball away. I mean Reed. I mean when Reed hits, just like Sidney Brown, they can hit. He really didn't have to hit him though. He wasn't going to catch it anyways. He could have just played the ball there. We saw something Antoine Winfield Jr. actually did that in the Bucks Falcons game. Ended up saving the Bucks because the Falcons ended up missing a field goal. Um, Eagles Byron Young uh, soon thereafter forced a fumble on Miles Sanders and Quinyon Mitchell recovered in their own in Philadelphia territory. So payback for Miles Sanders. Um, then at 10:27, um, with 4 minutes 44 seconds left in the third quarter, the game was suspended due to lightning in the area. The game resumed play at 11:30, so an hour and 3 minutes later. After the delay, the Eagles go three and out. Both offenses stalled out from there. Saquon with another signature play in the fourth quarter. He had a one-handed catch and then proceeded to stiff arm a guy, getting the first down. It was quite incredible. Uh, he's just great. Landon Dickerson ended up having a back injury, and Brett Toth came in to replace him. So after the delay, it seemed like both defenses stepped up, or both offenses sucked, and there was no points on either side for the first two drives. Eagles ended up winning 24-20. Um, I mean, it was the delay really screwed the momentum for both teams. I mean, both teams were coming out the gates hot on offense, and then it just stalled from there. At that point, I just wanted the game to be over with. In warm-ups, Drew Makuba was with the starters, and Adoree Jackson, Jahad Campbell. In a base defense, Cooper DeJean was outside at corner, and Cooper did play some outside corner in the game, but not a ton. Drew Makuba and Sidney Brown seemed to be rotating, unlike the other positions. And Drew and Jahad were in on a lot of tackles together. But Drew and Sidney Brown, I couldn't really tell. Like they were both doing their job. I liked what I saw out of both of them. So like I'm comfortable with the safety position right now. As for corner, you got to figure that out, man. Go to get Jacorian Bennett, Adoree Jackson. Like, really, what are we doing? He's not good. You're gonna play Kansas City this week. He's gonna get burned by like Hollywood Brown, like or Juju Smith-Schuster. So it was a frustrating game. It was frustrating in this right after the delay, but the Jalen stepped up. Some people look at the stats for Jalen and I'm like, you didn't watch the game then, because there I don't know if there are five quarterbacks in the NFL that would have won this game for the Eagles if they came in at quarterback. Um, so yeah, you gotta get AJ Brown more involved. But next week the Eagles are gonna play the Chiefs, and it's a rematch of the Super Bowl in Kansas City. Last time the Eagles played in Kansas City, they beat the Chiefs. So I'm looking forward to it, and I will see you next week. Go Eagles.